Jody, thank you so much. Last time we met, I had a little technical difficulties, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you again. And just when I was just now complaining about all the hitches last week, you said we are where we're supposed to be, and that's something that that's something that I think about because, well, first of all, one of the things I'm that's top of mind with me right now is that you have everything that you need. You are sufficient. When we feel insufficient, when we feel inadequate, um, we get caught up in a trap because then there's going to be something that we think that is going to fulfill us. And there's really nothing external of you that's fulfilling you. Um, you just got to be fulfilled. Like people say, choose to be happy. I mean, it's not totally possible. It's not absolute, but for the most part, you got to kind of make a choice. And we are where we're supposed to be. Yeah, you are always, yeah, that's right in congruence with you got everything that you need. And one thing I always quote is Bono has a line in a song and he says, "What you don't have, you don't need it now." Like if you've made it here and you've made it here alive and you're okay, and for the most part, I mean, sometimes we don't think we're okay, but we're okay. But um, you don't need anything else. You have everything that you need. You got to this point, right? But I mean, sometimes we get injured and we're gonna need some first aid, right? So you gotta restore yourself back to health. So but Jody, tell me more about green goo.
I like that segue. That's beautiful. Very full circle. And I really appreciate you helping people recognize the cage that we put ourselves in and really freeing yourself of that. So thank you. So Green Goo is plant-based first aid. My mom, sister, and I started this brand over a decade ago. And my sister's an herbalist and a midwife, and I was pre-med, got my master's in health psychology, and specialized in psychoneuroimmunology and trained resident physicians on the biopsychosocial model. So even I mixed that up. And so for us, we've always been passionate about changing and improving and advancing our wellness journey. So for us, initially, it was training those physicians to not just look at prescribing, but really look at the patient as a whole and how we may be able to offer other services to therefore really elevate the intervention that's needed. And so, sort of fast forward, we recognized that we were living this really clean life. We were eating healthy ingredients and, choosing clean personal care products. But when you opened up our first aid cabinet, that is where all the exceptions were. One-time use chemical products. And, we asked ourselves the question, why? And it was really because we were just told these are the only kinds of solutions that get the job done. And then we found out we weren't alone. The natural consumer, generally speaking, is willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told that these are the only solutions and that there aren't clean alternative solutions. And then what was really interesting to me is that the conventional consumer doesn't care about the ingredients. They just want something that works better in the over-the-counter space. They're seeing, use 7 to 10 days. If symptoms persist, you have to go see your doctor. There's obviously the chance of that being toxic and then also just not working, and that's inconvenient and frustrating. And chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high, and so we found this beautiful intersection that we could create plant-based solutions that are superior in efficacy and, oh, by the way, are also natural and sustainable. So Green Goo was born.
Wonderful. The last time we spoke, I was saying that, one of the things about hippies is that I don't think a lot of hippies like to, I don't take that as a bad word, so I don't really mean it that way. I like hippies. My only issue with hippies is they don't assign an economic portion to whatever they're doing. You can't just run on fumes. You can't just pour out of an empty cup. Your children need to be taken care of. You need food to eat. You need to participate in the economy I mean, you don't have to participate in the economy in an unethical way, but you still need to participate. And you participating in an ethical way is going to cause that culture to continue where everyone will start doing that. But I think that a lot of people that are hippies, they like to just say, oh, I don't want to participate in things in an economic way, or someone who is
Like
uh
anti-establishment, right?
right. That's fine, but you could be the change you want to see, like Gandhi says, and
Mhm.
participate in an ethical kind of way. But even the people who go to a vendor or go to an apothecary or whatever, they'll show up at the apothecary's business place and say, oh, this is too expensive or whatever. Da, da, da. But um, for it to become more economic, they have to support it more, and then it creates a more of a demand and it creates more of an ecosystem. So we need more people who are into alternative things to get out there and start putting themselves out there. And when the ecosystem grows, it makes it more cost effective for everybody. And if that's the price that they listed for you. Anyway, that's just
Well,
me
you
talking.
can't stay in business
Right.
if I mean you if you can't stay in business, you don't have a business, and therefore you don't have a commodity to be able to sell. And therefore, if you want to be a part of that change,
Mhm.
and yet you can't keep the business alive, then you don't get to impact in the way that you would like. So I always look at it as every time you're making a purchase, you're voting. And like you said, uh, it requires people to generate demand and create market share in order for a business to survive. And then that also helps initiate change because, for example, if consumers all start looking for plant-based ingredients, it's going to force the companies who are electing to use harmful chemicals to have to potentially change their ways because now the market share and the demand is taking them in another direction.
100%. I mean, I see it in consumer products that I'm purchasing at the supermarket, Target, or Stop and Shop, or whatever the case may be, where they're starting to come around to realize that there is a demand, and they're, kind of being threatened by alternative clean products and natural products and organic things. And they're feeling that, listen, we want those customers too. So now it and we're going to start maybe complying with some of these um, sustainable type of tags so that we can get those customers. So that's driving the whole economy and the ecosystem towards a cleaner, more ethical kind of, like for instance, with the whole diamonds thing, a lot of people were complaining about conflict minerals and stuff like that. And then you had a site developed named Brilliant Earth, which is like where you can get a wedding ring that's more ethically sourced, so it's creating market share by supporting these businesses, create market share by um, just being a business about it. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can, if you want to give something away, go ahead, give it away. But you should think about creating an economy around it. I've been to a worker cooperative maybe once or twice, like a co-op supermarket in Brooklyn, and it's employing a lot of people. It's employing a lot of people. The people, they're happy to work there, and they sell good products, good, clean, organic stuff, and it's helping people to get healthy, and it's keeping people employed. So, but that's just
Well, I want to add to that too. When we first started over 10 years ago, if you had a natural product, you only sold it at a health food store, like a Whole Foods or a Natural Grocers, and it was really it was unusual to see a natural product in a conventional grocery store or pharmacy. And we were watching the news one day and we saw a study that came out that said 94% of Walmart shoppers would buy organic if it was affordable and if it was available. And you started to realize that the barrier to entry there wasn't that they didn't believe in natural, it was that it was not equitable, it wasn't, available. And so some of those economy of scales you talked about earlier, which is, the more we can get out there, the more we can have that volume based discount that helps us make things more affordable and available. So we started going to conventional grocery stores and pharmacies out of the gate. And people were like, "What are you doing? You should be following this roadmap. This is the traditional roadmap." And we were like, "Nope. We want to make organic more affordable and more available and be a part of that change."
Last time we were speaking, and I was just putting my little 2 cents in it, and I was talking about my experiences with arnica,
Hmm.
and which I give my grandaunt for her arthritis, and my aunt uses it for her arthritis. Arnica is a plant-based. I don't know if it's used for healing, but you can tell me. But I know it's used for
Inflammation.
inflammation, right? And one of the things that my whole podcast initially started from a product that I was trying to develop called Sauce on Delay, which is a pomade. And one of the ingredients that I wanted in it was calendula, because I knew that calendula does a lot of skin healing, and so I wanted to heal the scalp using calendula. Um, and so I encountered that as another natural plant, and I think I was mentioning that. But and then there's another plant that we were talking about from my childhood called mimosa.
Hmm. Which
And
has a lot of natural skin repair benefits.
yeah,
It's just not prevalent here, and you would import it.
mhm,
But I think it's a great ingredient,
mhm,
and of course we call it calendula. I'm sure there's a number of ways you can say it.
mhm,
And calendula is our favorite plant. I mean, it is an astringent. It's antifungal, anti-yeast, antimicrobial, so spot on in terms of, scalp repair. It has skin regenerative properties. Um, and there's even some more recent evidence that has come out that it can help with longevity, that it has some regenerative properties that are associated with our telomeres, that are associated with our DNA. And so we're starting to see even more botanical research come out, and calendula is just wonderful. It's hydrating. Yeah, it's a great one. And then arnica, love it. It's awesome that you've been sharing that with your grandmother because it really, truly, from an anti-inflammatory standpoint and speeding up the healing, is a beautiful plant. It's also really beautiful to look at. We used to actually wildcraft this plant in the early days when we were making this product or making green goo. And what's unique about the green goo pain relief formula is that it's really, really high in these arnica flowers. So we still bring the plants to our manufacturing facility, take it through this infusion process, yield a high amount of those medicinal properties. And that's why that arnica is such an active component in the formula because you're not ruining the integrity of the plant. You're protecting its medicinal profile. And then in conjunction, you have these oils that are semi-permeable to your skin and they're wonderful transporters. So rather than having like a petroleum paraben solution that just sits on the surface of the skin, you're really getting that systemic response. And so, I'm a big believer of being proactive on inflammation. We're seeing a lot of evidence to show up that it's related to our nervous system, our immune system, our mental clarity. And so managing inflammation is key. So I'll use our pain relief formula and just butter up from head to toe, let my skin drink that up, and I'll do that post-workout, pre-workout, pre-travel. It's a great way to sleep better as well, and just keep your inflammation under control.
wow, that's a different way to use it. As almost like a relaxant in a sense.
Hmm.
Um, so what about the your other first aid products? Just go through a list of the first aid products that you carry, that you manufacture.
Yeah, our Green Goo First Aid is our number one product that everyone knows us for. It is a natural neosporin alternative for cuts and scrapes. But most notably, it is your first aid kit in one little tin. So we recognize that no one ever had a first aid kit with them when they needed it. And could we develop sort of this Swiss Army knife on the go first aid that's in your pocket, portable? Military loves it, and it's just easy. And then you find that you're using it for everything. You didn't know you needed it until you have it. And so it slows down the bleeding, speeds up the healing, takes the sting and the itch out. And so, from cuts and scrapes to bug bites, bee stings, poison ivy, even cold sores, chafing, ingrown toenails, sunburn. You can even use it as a lip balm. I mean, it's really your go-to first aid. And again, it gives you the opportunity to reduce the clutter in your first aid cabinet and actually have something that you can use on a regular basis. Does not have neomycin, which about 25% of the population is allergic to that. And it is toxic to pets, neomycin. So, what's wonderful about our Green Goo First Aid is that you can put it on your pet's hot spots, cuts. And what's interesting, because it has the properties where it takes the sting and the itch out, that's typically why dogs end up needing cones in the first place, is because they just feel the sting and the itch and they're licking it to soothe it. And these, the green goo first aid actually has those pain relief properties in it, taking the sting and the itch out. Um, our number one selling product is our skin repair product. This was designed to be an after sun burn and scar formula. What it has evolved into is a beautiful anti-aging formula. So it's rich in helichrysum, rose hips, a variety of different yarrows. And it's just incredibly hydrating with the aloe vera. And so it helps penetrate the various epidermal layers with all of those high vitamin C antioxidant properties that help with like elasticity, sunspots, and again, just incredibly hydrating. Another one of my favorites that I love to do head to toe, alternate between the pain relief product and that product. And then our dry skin formula, another one that's notable. John Hopkins has been using this in their scleroderma and skin condition department for over a decade. Uh, Beautiful, beautiful formula for eczema, psoriasis, and chronic dry skin, which again, we're seeing just a lot more of that in terms of, skin irritants that we can't seem to get away. And a lot of the over-the-counter solutions that are available just dry you out even more and have other companion ingredients that can be incredibly irritating.
Okay. Oh, wow. Sounds like you did a lot of research because you know, finding these ingredients. You ever heard of a book named Garden of Eden? Like this?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Well, it's like a natural healing book that we used to grow up with that my parents had
Hmm.
when I was little. I ended up buying it myself.
All
Um,
right. Well, I'm gonna get it. I've added it to my list. This is why I love
I
having these
mean,
conversations.
you're probably way past you've already, you already got it. So, but I could tell that, a lot of research has to go into this. I mean, Johns Hopkins, the military, uh, I mean, they're not going to use anything that doesn't work, they're not going to use anything that's not scientifically backed. Um, it's wonderful that to see that a more plant-based product is getting so much attention. And one of the things that we kind of mentioned during our last talk is that these plants have existed, at the same time as our development for millennia. So it would make sense that they're more biocompatible, versus neosporin or neomycin, which you said 25% of people are allergic to. Um, it makes sense to move to a plant-based type of solution where it's more biocompatible and it has less allergens and less allergic reactions. Um, but I don't really have a question now. I
Well, I
don't
can add to it if you'd like. So,
that
something that's interesting about what you're framing is that, it was wonderful that my sister's an herbalist and has that herbal education. And then me being pre-med, having that science backed, I know organic chemistry and how to make a formula stable and be able to take that to manufacturing. And then because I was so data driven as a result of my education, I was able to look at consumer behavior and see what the consumer was looking for in a solution to allow us to help drive what ingredients we would put into it. And then now, fast forward, the FDA has been investing in and supporting botanicals as having active ingredients. So green goo is now registered with the FDA. And what that does is it allows us to speak to the herbs that the FDA recognizes as having medicinal active properties. Now, my sister, the herbalist, would argue there's quite a few herbs that are not identified as active yet today, but it continues to evolve and advance. And of course, we would also say there's a number of other uses, for example, calendula, but the FDA calls it an astringent. So we have to refer to it as the astringent. And so plants were here long before we were. They've really inspired modern medicine. And it's just an opportunity to bring forward those time-honored traditions and introduce them because we do know the science is there today where it wasn't before, that it is compatible with our bodies. It is complementary. It does elevate our body's capabilities, and it also eliminates the ingredients that are challenging our body to operate at an optimal level. And so I'm really grateful for the advanced research that we're seeing, and even some of this stuff as it's connected to mindset and so forth, with our skin being rich in neurotransmitters and then connected to so many of our systems, and this opportunity that we could be giving our skin a more nutritive resource to help us with clarity and mindset. So it's really fun to just be a part of what they're calling the plant-based renaissance. And yeah, I really think we've done a good job of being a part of that change.
Well, um, the one common one thing that I'm taking from our conversation also is family, you spoke a lot about your father and your mom and well, not a lot, but you spoke about your father and your mom and even the relationship with your sister where you're coordinating and you're combining your skills and you know it extends overall to the community. Like, we all have something to offer. We may not come from the same industries, or we come from, conventional or alternative or hippie or conformist or whatever, you know what I mean? Uh, but we all have something that we can come together and we can build something better and advance humanity. I think it's a wonderful love story. You know what I mean? I mean,
I love that.
it's family, but I think it's a love story. You know what I mean? So I really appreciate that. It's very inspiring what we can accomplish when we work together and we put our heads together. You from the more science background, her from the herbalist background, and I don't know, let everybody know how they can get your products, get green goo and get this your skin repair product, which a lot of people are into longevity and anti-aging nowadays. And you said that's the most popular product. Where can we find your product?
First, I want to say teamwork makes dream work. So thank you for being a part of that collective family. And family is such a gift. And greengoo.com, that's the best place to go. We're also available on Amazon. And of course, you can email me directly from the website. And I love communicating with our customers. Matter of fact, when we send out our retention marketing emails, it comes directly from my email. And sometimes a customer will respond back and then I respond and they're like, huh, I didn't think I'd actually get a response. I'm like, yep. So please don't hesitate to reach out.
Wonderful. Jody, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I mean, I even have some questions, but I think I have some vocabulary words that I gotta look up. And I'm gonna look into this product. I'm very much interested also into your the green goo pain relief, because so far, I've been using alternative stuff, other stuff. But I greatly appreciate it and I thank you so much for your time.
It was great being here with you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.